many years, I thought that chasing money, chasing success, or just achieving more would give me this fulfillment that, I was looking for inside, a sense of purpose almost. But no matter how much I accomplished, no matter what I did externally, it never seemed to be enough. And I wouldn't even notice it at times that I actually had these things I had been chasing until I finally hit that rock bottom moment back in October of 2023. At the time, I had a small business that I just lost. I basically went broke. I drank myself into a horrible situation where I almost lost my family. And I feel that in that moment of rock bottom is when I fully began to surrender to God. I'm 34 now, and since I was a teenager, I was infatuated with that idea of chasing money. I didn't have much confidence, I guess, growing up, so I thought money or status would kind of fill that feeling of emptiness. I started working at a very young age, at around 15 years old, and I've done a lot from 15 to now. Right, like I said, I owned a small business. I was in the army. I held management positions at retail stores. I was a personal trainer. I still am a personal trainer, online coach. But again, no matter what I did, I always felt like something was lacking and I still had something to prove. For example, when I got out of the military, that was the first time I actually started taking in a lot of money because I left the military with a severance package because I had gotten injured. And for the next few months out of the military, I was bringing home a lot of money off of those severance checks. And again, like I say, hindsight's 2020. I had all this excess of money flow, but I just squandered it. Right? I had a family. At the time, I had my wife and my two daughters, and we used it on, buying a new car. We took a lot of trips. I was pretty young still. I want to say around 26 or 27 years old when I had gotten out. But it never gave me that sense of fulfillment. And then after the military, I ended up landing an executive manager job with Target, a retail store. And now I was making a good salary for the first time, and I had this title behind my name. And still, I felt that emptiness. I never could be satisfied. I never had that peace that I had been searching for, that fulfillment. And I thought I could get it from people or from things or from substances. And this is all just me escaping the reality that I could not face the truth. That all of these things that I was doing them for the wrong reasons. Therefore, I was never going to be satisfied. And I can go into details later if you guys would like. I know this is a little all over the place, but like I said, I had the management spot at Target. I ended up not being satisfied with the money I was making, even though it was a good salary. So I jumped into the automotive industry, not selling cars, but in the service department. And because I knew that you could make a lot of money in that service side. And then from there, I was heavily into health and fitness, and I wanted to be a business owner because that's what looked good on paper in my eyes. So then, fast forward a few years later in 2019, I began putting together the plan to open my first supplement store. And in 2020, I signed my first lease, and we all know what happened. 2020, COVID hit. So a few weeks after signing my first lease, COVID hit, and I was stuck in this 3-year lease. So I went, instead of cutting my losses at that time, I was so ignorant and I was so stubborn and full of pride. I went ahead and I still built out the store, and I opened that store in July of 2020. And this really stroked my ego, because now not only was I making money from work, I had a supplement store, right? I'm a business owner now. I was coaching people online. I had a few different sources of revenue coming in. I wasn't making a crazy amount of money, but I was very comfortable. I had my son, so now I'm married with 3 kids. And from the outside looking in, people thought I had it all figured out. But little did they know, every day I was still feeling empty. Again, very selfish of me, extremely selfish. I already know this. Um, Very inconsiderate, ungrateful, you name it. That was me. I had no humility. I was not humble at all internally. Fast forward a few years later, the business kind of trended upwards, and no one else to blame. It started to hit that downward trajectory. I had a business partner at the time. We didn't see eye to eye. Things didn't work out as I would have liked, but no excuses. I let the business down, and in 2023, right when our lease ended, I did not renew my lease, and that's when I officially lost my business, I would call it. And that came with its own problems, right? Financial problems, financial problems that I'm still dealing with today. But in that moment, leading up to that time of closure, I was beginning to really spiral out of control. Not with drugs, but I was drinking almost every single day. And it got to the point where I almost lost my family. Again, I think I posted a story about this in prior. If you scroll down on my videos, I think I talk about it a little bit, but maybe I can make a new video. But yeah, October of 2023, I was drinking so much. My business was lost. I was in a mountain of debt, basically broke. I had a wife and 3 kids. I could barely pay rent. Yeah, and I was drinking like I was drinking in a way where I shouldn't have. And it got to a point where my wife was ready to leave me. And at that point, right, I already lost my business. I had given up my job to chase more money. I was unhappy in that job. And my wife was about to leave me. So basically, everything that I thought I wanted, which I had in my hands, I almost lost overnight. The morning after the event where I have drank way too much and I had done something very, very dumb that almost cost me my family, the next few days I spent alone, and I did a lot of reflecting. And I knew I needed to drop the alcohol, right? I had been trying for so many months, even probably years at that point. But I always thought I could keep it under control. But I started praying, and that was something that I did not do for years. I mean, I was at a point where I almost didn't even have any faith, where I almost didn't believe in God at all. After He had blessed me with so much that I just wasted. And like I said, I began to pray, and I wish I could tell you that it just clicked and everything fell into place and everything started trending up. No, it was that next year, that end of to the end of 2023, I had officially stopped drinking from that point. And then into 2024, again, it was roller coaster. Because for the first time in my life, I basically had nothing, and I was sober for the first time in a long time. And when you're sober, you're faced with all of your problems head on, and there's nowhere to run because you have no more vices. And it taught me a lot. You know, it really opened my eyes to the fact that true peace, it doesn't come from anything external. It comes from in here. It comes from surrendering to God, to giving up control, to having humility and dropping your ego. And it just so happens that I began to give more of my life to God. And the more of my life that I gave to God, the more peace I began to find. And I'm talking about peace I've never experienced in my entire adult life. So now, where I'm at now, it's 2025. I've been sober for about a year and a few months only. I've been working on my relationship with God for the past year also. So I'm still building, I'm still growing, but now I'm doing it with a purpose, and it's not for money. Of course, I still want financial security, but that's not the purpose anymore. Now I don't feel like I have to prove anything to anyone. And that's also why I make these videos, because back then I'd be embarrassed to do something like this. But I realize it's not about me. The messages I'm sharing are hopefully going to be seeds of God's word that I can plant into those of you watching, and then God will come in and do the rest of the work. I'm just the vessel that He's using, and that's how I view my life now. And that's why I share my faith on YouTube, because I know there are people out there who are just like me, who might be in the position where I was a few years ago, or maybe that you just lost everything and you had that feeling of emptiness. And I'm here to tell you that there's a way out of it, and that's believing in Jesus Christ and following the word of our God. I've also come to understand that these are all tests. Everything is a test of our faith. God gives us all of these things, and what we do with it is going to determine whether or not we pass that test. And not passing the test is like what happened to me, right? Having everything I pretty much ever wanted, and then losing it all just like that because I wasn't thankful for it. I wasn't grateful. So God, He doesn't abandon us. He's waiting for us. He waits for us to surrender to Him, to come with humility and to be humble enough to ask Him for help, and in our high moments be humble enough to thank Him for everything. So that's just a quick video I wanted to make to share why I make these videos. My story's not over yet. Your story's not over yet. Our best days are yet to come. Again, having faith in God is what has gotten me to this point so far. And if you're stuck, or if you have too much pride, I suggest you surrender to God. Give Him all of the control. Trust in Him, and He will bless you in ways that you could have never imagined. Thanks for watching.